You are now listening to the Artsindy Crossroads show. Here's
Suk-Yen Lee, host for CBC's Definitely Not the Opera and former VJ for Much Music.
I just Googled Nick Panu, pretending you're Marlon Brando and you're asleep on you're asleep on your laptop.
Will Sasso stars for Mad TV and another series coming out on CBS.
Your intro there sounded like I was just making my way down to the ring for a MMA fight.
Interviews with Ruth Moody, the Wailing Jennies.
You're so welcome. Take care.
Motivational speaker David Roche.
Thanks a lot, Nick. Take care of yourself. I really appreciate it.
Karen LeBlanc, the star of Nurse, the fighter boy.
Hi, Nick. I'm really good, and thank you for asking me.
People in film, theater, music, the arts.
You know, culture and art and expression are fundamental to that essence of life.
It does take some strength, and it does take the skin of a rhino sometimes. You know, it's worth it. It really is. It's worth it.
I'm Nick and I'll be your host.
So we're into the first week of December, so 3 weeks at least until Christmas, so why not get that Christmas shopping done early? Good idea before everything gets really busy in the malls. And this week I have part one of the interview with Babz Kabaz, talking about the comedy scene. Yeah, we're sitting here with Babz Kabaz. Babz, it's really great to get this opportunity to speak with you.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's great to be here.
Yeah, you did comedy for a short time. How many years?
About like 2.5 years, and then I stepped out of it.
But do you remember when you first went on stage? Was it like a conscious decision, or someone dragged you up? Like a conscious decision in a way that it's something you needed to try, and was there a reason for it?
For me, it was a very conscious decision. I've always wanted to do it as a kid. And it was, the funny thing is actually, that was the first time I did it, which was like the start of my, say, quote-unquote comedy tour, was like a tour, like an army tour kind of thing, was in Toronto in 2012, and, but that wasn't the first time. Like, I've been doing a lot of improv and theater stuff since I was a kid, but that's a crutch, because you have other actors on stage, even improv. I always saw those things as a crutch, and going up on stage alone was very scary. And so before I did that show in 2012, stand up alone, I had like a comedy music duo, kind of like Flight of the Conchords, and we were called Sounds of Seduction. And we'd have just like a lot of silly songs. I wish I saved the lyrics, because there's some that were they're still funny. And I'm like still best friends with the guy that did it. We just like laughed because it was stupid, it was funny, and it was just silly stuff. What's going on is, yeah, so I did the comedy duo music act, but I always felt like that was a crutch. And one thing I never liked about it was I hate relying on people. And as much as like group projects are fun, you get to work with someone, bouncing ideas, I never liked partnerships, because now you're relying on someone, and that partner, as much as a great guy he was, he would always get into like, really serious relationships, and that would take up a lot of his time. And I'm like, oh great, like, I want to focus on doing some more shows. So I started to study stand-up, and I even went to a stand-up course in Toronto when I lived in Toronto for a little while. And it was really good. It was with Second City, and they helped me kind of...
Second City, man. That's like, legendary.
Yeah, exactly. It was with Second City. It was really cool, and still friends with the teacher. And it was a lot of fun, and we all studied and kind of started practicing, and they like taught us, joke writing and how to, just like all the essentials that really people should kind of know what they're stepping into. Now, mind you, you don't need to go to a school to do that. Like, I had a little bit of extra money and time, so I did the course at Second City. You can go do this yourself. I would highly recommend people get this book called Comedy Bible, and that is a very highly recommended book to anybody in their first year or so of stand-up to study that book. It's all the essentials of what you need to be able to go up on stage and have an entertaining set. And that to me is what is the most important. Is your set entertaining? Are people laughing? Not so much are people agreeing with you. I think that's what's kind of lost, and that's one of the reasons why I started getting turned off with stand-up in Vancouver was a lot of comedians, they're too focused on being agreeable rather than just being entertaining and being a fan favorite. Like, for instance, I learned a lot about like character development from, say, wrestling. Yeah. When you're watching WWF wrestling, you see the good guys and the bad guys and all these characters that get you invested, and they all evoke different emotions inside you. Not all of them are trying to get you to like them. Some of them want you to hate them, but because of your hate, they're evoking a strong emotion and you're investing. Yeah. And a lot of the great comedians, and through time, also did that. A lot of the great comedians actually didn't care if you liked them and, oh, this is a good guy and I want my mother to listen. Oh yeah, he's saying what he's saying what we're thinking. No, they're there to challenge your ideals. A lot of the legendary comedians did just that. They challenged your ideals. They made it funny though. That's the first step though. Be funny before you take these big risks. Learn to be funny first. But it is about challenging people, taking people to new areas. And that's one thing I kind of wanted to do before I stepped out of comedy. I had this feeling I didn't want to be that guy that was likable. I actually wanted to be a bad guy. I wanted to be, say, in wrestling terms, they call it a heel. I wanted to be a villain. And basically why I stepped out of comedy, though, like, it was a good time. There were some good times. There was some, like, ups. There's ups and downs. Some of the downs was, just doing shows in a crowd just full of comedians, or seeing like some comedians kind of do better than you just because they play the politics. But then some of the ups is, just seeing your own merits pay off and you're getting invited to these bigger shows, or just starting to actually see a fan base develop and seeing people want you to come back just because of your own merits and things like that. And the best part is like seeing random people come up to you in the streets and saying like, hey, they remember this joke and that joke and everything. And I think that's one thing I had when I was doing comedy, was my stuff was like, there was kind of a base characteristics. I dealt with a lot of racial humor and kind of like more raunchy, not raunchy, but like edgy stuff, like, jokes about drinking hardcore and partying and race and like being a Persian Jew, and a lot of like but I look back at them now, I'm like, it's a little hacky. I'll admit it was hacky, but it was good enough to start off with and get that stage time. Like, a part of me why I'm not performing yet is I kind of told myself I want to spend the time to write new stuff. But why I got out of it was I was planning on doing a whole different thing, and I was writing a lot during this time, and I was kind of getting sick of what I was during stand-up. Like, I felt like I was becoming too much of this character, and there's a part of it that was like, I was just getting sick of seeing the crowd the way they are, seeing the comedians. Like, I started getting a rise more out of like shutting up a couple of hecklers and just kind of not playing along, but the crowd still enjoys it. It's a very, and I'm like, what, screw it. I want to be a villain and have fun with that and make that a likable villain. Like, make it a villain that people want to come and see, just like Scarface or a lot of these things. But I got my license suspended for driving, and it was just for 3 months. It was just for speeding. But during that time, like, because I live so far, I'm like, I'm not taking the SkyTrain for a 5 or 10 minute set. Get out of here. So, and that's another thing. Like, the sets are too short, right? For how much we commit, it is really short. And after all that, 3 months turned into 6 months, turned into a year, and I just started getting involved with other art projects, which actually, like, they fulfilled me in different ways, so I started to explore that.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk in the future, Babz. Hopefully in the immediate future, when you have the time, next couple of weeks. Yeah, about your artwork, and then you're involved sending illustrations and for comics.
Mm-hmm.
Babz.
Yes, sir.
So you talked.
I know, I kind of went off on the whole thing. Like, I hope that gave you lots of material.
when you started, you just want to get a reaction, because if you get, as long as you're getting a reaction, right? So people generally think about comedy a lot. It seems a lot of people have a perspective that you want people to laugh, you want to entertain them, but by entertaining them, you don't have to make them like you, and you don't.
Yeah.
As long as you get a reaction, right? Like the wrestler, the heel wrestler.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And that's very interesting. So, like, and I think that's kind of one of the crutches of comedy is, and like the comedians could use this, but it's funny. It all, for me, it kind of does go back to wrestling, just because to me, like 90s wrestling, like the highlights of WWF and WCW, that was prime entertainment. It had so many things packaged, and they made so much money, and they had something for everyone.
I got one question for you.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, brother?
Right. I'll tell you what I'm talking about, brother.
Oh, yeah. The Macho Man.
Macho Man Randy Savage, yeah. Nothing means nothing. So, what do you call it? Like,
Hey, are you giving me that Stone Cold finger salute?
what's that?
Stone Cold
The
gesture.
finger, yeah.
gesture right now.
Yeah. But Stone Cold is an interesting story, because like how that guy's character arose is, you know, when he started in WCW or ECW, yeah, like during WCW they made him like a really likable guy, and he even
Well,
felt
technician, yeah.
well, not his wrestling, and that's the thing. I'm not going to be talking about the wrestling techniques on the mat. I'm talking about the characters.
Yeah, he really developed in ECW because he was injured.
Yeah.
And so he learned to do promos in ECW.
Exactly. But then he had a lot of like anger to get off his chest because of what happened in WCW.
Yeah,
And then it didn't take until he went to WWF that he's like, and WWF did a very smart thing, which they're not doing now. I don't watch it now because, but during that time they did a smart thing, and I feel like I want to grab a lot of entertainers, and pretty much the whole entertainment industry to me right now is very diluted and hardcore commercialized. And commercialization, even though, like, say a movie, they spend, I don't know, $100 million and makes $200 million. Like, oh, no, it's people are paying for it. It's good. But it's like, is it memorable? Are people... There's a difference of and I had this conversation with someone just today about, like, nightlife in Vancouver and how diluted and, like, top 40s. And it's just...
Yeah.
What they try... What entertainment now is, and it's the same thing with WWF now or WWE, and a lot of these things, they made it just... very accessible, which is fantastic. On paper, it sounds great. Just like communism on paper sounds great. It's accessible. Anybody can step in and have a good time. But having a good time, is that enough for someone? For one person, no. For me to want to now come back the next day to this place, I need to have a great time. I have a good time. I can have a good time anywhere. And I think that's the problem with a lot of, now if we're talking about comedy right now, to me, that's the problem with a lot of the comedy I'm seeing versus the comedy that I'm seeing succeed is what's difference of good and great is not caring if you're accessible, but caring if you're, making a big impact. If you are authentically as best as you can be of yourself. Now, mind you, in a very entertaining fashion. You can't just say like, well, I'm a dirty guy, so I'm going to go on stage and swear for 5 minutes with nothing. Like, make sure it's coherent and it's entertaining, but accessible. Are you, like, it is in the end of the game, and at the end of the day, it is about developing a fan base, because a hardcore fan base is going to be your main bread and butter. It's going to be how, they're the ones that are going to get your DVDs sold. They're the ones that are going to buy your merchandise. They're the ones that are going to get you to the big venues and everything. Just pleasing a tepid crowd of people that, they don't care if you're here or there. And they're like, oh, okay, great, this is great. Are you guys going to come back tomorrow? No, maybe we're going to go check out that pool hall down the road. They're doing pretty much the same thing. It's all the same top 40 garbage. So is it, I guess that kind of went all over the place.
But yeah, you're saying like having an impact, it doesn't, you don't have to get people to like you, like,
I got a good example right now. So I went as an audience member this night to the Comedy Mix. And
okay.
This night, I forgot what night it was. It was like one of their, it was just a normal showcase night. It wasn't a weekend night. And they had a bunch of comedians, and honestly, every comedian going up, they kind of all blend the same. Like, I call it hipster comedy. It's just very, like, hip topic. Like, hey, guys, like, I went on Tinder last night. What's up with that? Or, like, girls like, yeah, man, get a boyfriend and hang out with my cat. I think I'm hanging out with my cat. It's all the same garbage, right? Like, it's all the same mediocre, like, and they say they're edgy because they kind of swear, but it's not like edgy that, oh, well, we're edgy, but we're not going to offend someone. Like, come on. So it was just that, and I'm not crapping on these guys because they do have the ability to be funny. They got that. But the ability to be memorable, well, this is where I'm going to go and talk about people who are in the audience. It was starting to get a little bit boring. Like, it was just the same thing over and over until one guy came up on stage, Nick Roy. And if you guys know Nick Roy...
When was this? This was this week?
No, this is a long time ago when Nick Roy performed a lot. This is years ago. And then Nick Roy goes up on stage. And if anybody knows Nick Roy, this guy is dirty, filthy,
but entertaining,
hard, dark, twisted. Like, he's one of the rawest people in Vancouver. Like, hands
but
down.
Funny. Yeah.
But funny. Like, it's funny, actually. Even a few friends say he's funny when he tries to be funny.
Yeah.
But sometimes, if he doesn't care about the show, he'll just go off the rails and just destroy. But that night, he cared.
When it's a big crowd, I guess he cares.
He comes in, and boom, becomes Nick Roy. The crowd switch from this, like, like when you're just walking the streets, your brain's kind of off. Some people are like, ha, 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 that's funny, ha, ha. The crowd switched from that, like, almost in a daze to, boom, they woke up. People, they're, like, half the crowd was howling. Ha, 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 they were going crazy. The other half was like, boo, no, ew. Yeah. Like, that's the thing, he created a shift, but he woke people up, and he just, like, and you could tell some people didn't like it. These guys loved it. It was madness during his set. And then it ended. Then the next guy came in, and another kind of hipster style. But at that point, the crowd was awake. And then the show was a lot more entertaining. Now people were more involved. People were laughing more. Because they woke up. Something came and shook them. So to be accessible to me, that's nothing. That doesn't mean anything. Sometimes you need to shake these people up. And if it means saying something really raunchy, really naughty, or just doing something that, like, wakes them up, because I think the crowd, everyone's just so diluted with, I don't know, like, this top 40, everything is just a weird auto-tune mixed with DJ, mixed with nothing. And even movies now, it's all like, it's weird. It's weird for me to say. I love superheroes, but to me, superhero movies, nothing's new anymore. And everything's a remake, and, like, we're just living in an era right now where art is literally doesn't want a challenge. It's just about quick payout, and accessible to the widest audience. But when something comes and just shakes people, it'll get a huge reaction, and that's what I saw that night.
Going back to
people popped. Yeah.
I guess it's okay. If we're using Nick Roy's name.
Because we said something nice about him.
Yeah, we're talking nice.
Yeah, if I didn't have something nice to say about someone, I wouldn't use their name.
Yeah,
if I'm saying nice, I would use their name. Nick Roy, I like the guy. I like him. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I like it because I've talked to him off stage, and he seems to be a nice guy.
Yeah.
Because
it's bad because he's not getting the proper, like, kind of time a guy like him deserves and everything. But I don't know, whatever.
He is very talented, and he's very organic in his approach and how he can riff off people in the crowd. Yeah. But well, that's another topic about how I think he's been kind of blackballed. Like the race stuff, which people try to bash him for, it never offended me because he said something to me. But he said it when he kind of talked to me a few times before,
here's the
after
funny
the
thing
show.
With that race stuff, like
that doesn't bother me. But if people want to make an issue about Nick Roy, it could be the sexist stuff, right? Yeah, but it just seems like a political thing to say race.
No, the thing is, it's unfortunately, like, in the comedy circle, I got a lot of that too because, like, half my jokes were about race stuff, and who I got it from was comedians. Yeah, the crowd loved it.
Yeah, the
crowds were popping, and then I have this one comedian, which is funny. I'm not going to say this guy's name, but he's gallivanting now about how, like, he's a dirty comedian. This guy had the gall to come to me in my early career. I don't know, I did it for 2.5 years. All of that was an early career. But the early part was how, like, he says, oh, you know, that stuff you do. And mind you, this is right before I was going to MC my first show. And he's telling me, he made me nervous. He's like, by the way, that stuff you do, you know, it might get you might think the crowd's popping but you're just giving them a shock value, you know, I think they're just getting a little scared, so they're kind of nervously laughing. And I'm just like, are you seriously giving me this talk right, like, 5 minutes before I'm going to go? And I'm like, I never liked him after that, because I'm like, either that was a way to sabotage, it was just a really garbage approach. But then the funny thing is, like, a year later, he started doing that same thing, and at the end of the day, like, so, you know, I had a few rebuttals to that, and I get it. Like, when I started off, I did, one thing I'll admit, I did rely on that shock value as a crutch. And one thing is, yeah, like, to me, writing clean, it's everyone says, oh, you know, clean is the hardest thing. No, it's boring. And here's one thing I tell people. Write what you are. Now make it the best and sell it, but write what you are. If you're clean, go clean. Don't go dirty. It's weird. It's inauthentic. I hate seeing a clean guy try to be dirty, because you can tell, like, buddy, you're faking it, get off stage. Or if a dirty guy's trying to go clean, well, yeah, he's going to suck. He doesn't know. Because this guy lives a filthy lifestyle. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. It's just his mind works that way. He doesn't do anything bad. Like, me, I grew up on Beavis and Butthead and South Park and things like that. Where do I get off writing clean? If I'm going to write, like, and that's the funny thing, I actually start doing comedy at churches, like with Christians, so I can develop a clean thing. But to me, that's more of a natural, like, I let that do organically. I'm not going to waste my time sitting down and writing clean, because I don't care about that. No, so that's one rebuttal for that. And another thing is, like, I don't know, it's just, I tell people, look at the crowd. I never care what another comedian tells you, because they don't really know. Like, it's a really weird art form. It's not like painting or music where you can kind of sit down and judge. It's very, if anything, comedy is like one of the most subjective art forms out there. Because what's funny to you might not be funny to me. Yeah. So is someone to tell you that, hey, you know, you didn't make Bobak laugh, so you should try this? Why would you even care what I say? I'm not everybody. Try to see what the mass says, but, you know, get a pop and be authentic.
Yeah, so it all comes down to the audience, not a exclusive audience of comedians. Yeah. But it's interesting how one bit you do in one venue, one neighborhood, might not get a laugh in a different neighborhood. Because I talked about this one bit. It was at that comedy competition. The Emerald. The Emerald.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that place.
No, it's good. They have. It looks like a fancy place. I guess the neighborhood is changing so fast, gentrifying. So it's kind of like the Yaletown crowd. But then the competition was in the basement, and they had a lot of space in the basement. It was bigger than the Sin Bin, their back room.
Nice.
So bigger than that back room. So
Sin Bin. Oh my goodness. Those are good times. Those silly times.
Yeah, one bit might work in one venue, and then a different venue might not get the same response. One of the comedians we were talking about earlier, yeah, because I noticed his personality is different from on stage. How he has, I don't know if maybe bravado is the right word, and like all this confidence, but he seems a little quiet off stage. The few times I talked to Nick, but so you notice that a lot of people are like that. I'll even admit when I've done stand up, when I go up there, I'm different. And if you don't mind delving into this,
yeah, sure, whatever.
Do you find it cathartic? Did you find it?
I don't
cathartic
know what
for
cathartic
yourself?
means.
Oh, okay.
What does it mean?
Well, when you step outside yourself, it kind of helps you with. Might we find a definition? No, I know what it means, like the vibe and everything, but like it help you deal with your social issues, like if you're inadequate in something. Then being on stage, like actors, you know, like.
No, not so much for me, because like I'm just always kind of I'm kind of a natural extrovert, so I'm always kind of like what I'm on stage is pretty much what I am off stage. In fact, like I'm still kind of like I'm still funnier off stage than on stage. I'm trying to get that organic. If anything, actually on stage, I'm still nervous and a little anxious. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be if I kept on with it. By the end of when I was doing it, the nerves were dying down more and more. But I emceed a show last Saturday, and I was very organic there. It was a music show, so I'm still doing stage stuff. It's just not stand-up comedy. I'm doing I'm focusing more on music shows and just different things here and there. But I don't know, it's, to me, it's more it's just fun, to be, especially the music shows. It's fun to be part of something and hosting a night. But the whole stepping out of myself, not so much for me. I think it's more in the beginning I liked the attention, but for stand up it wasn't so much that, because I'm especially when you start off, you're wow, these guys are way funnier than me. So going up on stage, I was oh my god, I'm in front of lions. I was actually more scared to be on stage than off stage because of that. And then especially it was always nerve wracking to do a show in front of a lot of pros and comedians or people that, and you're just so nervous. It's so weird, because when you're not in a certain crowd, you wouldn't give two craps about these people. But then when you're trying to get into that vocation and within that certain group, all of a sudden the hierarchies are all there, and you're nervous in front of someone just because they got this many years experience, and it's a very weird at least that's how it was for me. And I hated that, and I always try to fix that within myself. But it was something I think that was one of my biggest struggles, was not dealing with these hierarchies.
Yeah, you notice, in the community, there's people in these hierarchies, then they tend to think they have this power, so they can say what they want or be abusive, and you they feel you have to suck up to them.
Yeah,
and someone who's helped me on the mic in front of an audience, and I'm not gonna go kiss your ass. I don't want to have anything to do with you.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's and unfortunately, as an art form, it is an art form where the community is a pack of wild dogs where they just buy, and I think that's kind of a good example. It's a pack of wild dogs where, there's the leader of the packs and everything. You're supposed to bow to them, and then the other dogs just bite each other and everything. Yeah. Where, being part of music communities or other artist communities, I find other communities are a lot more encouraging, a lot more nurturing and everything, especially. That's, if anything, artists need is nurturing, because we're all sensitive losers. We're so sensitive and needy and everything. Yeah. That's why we break our backs and perform. We need that love and attention. We need to create, because we're sensitive. We see something differently, and we want to get it out some way. And to have another artist come up and just crap on you and just and you're buddy, we're in the same struggle together. So that's something that kind of if comedy should kind of understand, look, we're on the same struggle together. But I don't know what it is. They haven't really wrapped their heads around it. Versus, I don't know, when I'm in the painting community, everyone's there kind of there to help each other. Or oh yeah, no, this is how you paint, and this is my technique. What's your technique? Oh, that's cool. And then everyone's kind of sharing secrets and everything. No one's oh no, I'm not gonna tell you how I did this. And it's very interesting. And
sorry to cut you off.
No,
like the writing community too, they seem to be more supportive.
Yeah, and a lot more people are down to collaborate and everything. I remember when I did stand up, I always did it to meet other comedians and write projects, and I was interested in doing YouTube sketches and everything. And